Hello, I'm Benjamin Smith, here with Francis Crimmins Jr., the Republican candidate for the Massachusetts Governor's Council of District 2. As of right now, the primary election date will be held on September 3rd. Mr. Crimmins, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Great. For anyone watching, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a practicing attorney in nearby Stoughton. I'm in a estate planning and elder law practice. I grew up in Stoughton. I went to high school at Severian Brothers High School. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go to Harvard College. When I graduated from Harvard College, I wanted to go to law school, so I found a way to do that. I worked days, I went to law school nights. I got out of Suffolk University Law School in 1981. I was opening a practice of law right after that in Stoughton, Mass., which is my hometown. I was married in '83. My wife Joanne and I brought up 4 kids in Stoughton. They have all graduated from school. We still live in Stoughton, where I have a practice. When I got out of school, I got active in community activities early, both civic and political. I was elected to the Board of Selectmen. They called it then. They call it a select board today, but back in 1982, it was called a Board of Selectmen. I was elected as a selectman in Stoughton from '82 to '85. In '85, I was elected a town moderator. I served that position for 8 consecutive one-year terms till I was fortunate enough to be appointed by then Governor William Weld as a judge to the district court, the Stoughton District Court, where I was a member of the trial court in Massachusetts, sitting in district courts all over eastern Massachusetts up until 2010. In 2010, those 4 kids that my wife and I brought into this world were going to college and whatever, so it was time to leave practice to be able to take care of some tuition obligations, like a lot of people do. So I had a change in my career. I left the bench, where I was proud to have served the last 9 years as the presiding judge at the Stoughton District Court. So I served almost 18 years in that capacity. Wow. I went back into private practice. I had a couple of stints in municipal law because my background fit the bill in a couple of places. I served as a town manager in the town of Stoughton for 2 years between 2010 and 2012. I stayed in private practice, and then I took a little detour again in town of Avon, where I was a town administrator from 2014 to 2018. And I stayed in the practice of law, where I founded a firm called Ab Initio Elder Law Solutions. Ab Initio is a Latin word, means from the beginning. We do estate planning and elder law. I had some family experience that introduced me to the needs of elder law people and people with disabilities and special needs, that type of thing. And I serve in that capacity to this day. I've been active in a bunch of community things. My most recent political involvement or appointed position was in 2020. Then Governor Baker appointed me to the State Ballot Law Commission, where I served as a chairman until 2024 this year, where I had to give up that seat so I could run for this office, which is Governor's Council for District 2. So I'm married, 4 kids, 4 grandkids, been active in the law since 1981. This December, I'll be a member of the bar in Massachusetts for 43 years, active in public service, and I'm looking forward to this position as Governor's Counselor for District 2.
Wow, you've been very active, I'll say. For those watching who doesn't know much about the Governor's Council, what do the members of the Governor's Council do, and what are they responsible for?
Well, thank you for the question. I believe in 2 things: the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the United States Constitution. And so to answer your question, this is the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This is where the Governor's Council was created. So the Constitution of 1780, which preceded the U.S. Constitution by 7 years, called for an executive council that turned into and melded into what we now call the Governor's Council, where the founding fathers wanted to have checks and balances on the awesome power of the elected governor. And so they have an executive body called the Governor's Council, where there are 8 members on this council to give advice and consent to the elected governor, whoever he or she is, on appointments such as appointments to the bench for judgeships, the people who are clerks, magistrate in the courts of the Commonwealth. There are 7 trial court departments. We have a district court, we have a juvenile court, we have a land court, we have a housing court, we have the probate and family court, we have the superior court, and we have the appeals court. And those appointments to those very important positions in the court system, as well as the clerk's magistrate, are very important positions for any governor to fill when he or she takes office and there's a vacancy. So it goes back to the Constitution. In that, so the Governor's Council, there's only 8 in the state. So it's a huge district.
Yeah.
Everybody has 1/8 of the state. What I'm running for in the 2nd district is comprised of West Bridgewater and 36 other communities. So it's a huge district of over 900,000 people. But in addition to appointments to give advice and consent for judgeships and clerks magistrate, there are things on pardons, commutations, warrants to the state treasury, as well as a Department of Industrial Accident positions, or the workers' comp judges, people would know them as, in the notaries public. Those type of things are all under the purview of the Governor's Council, because that's where it comes from. And when you take the oath of office, I told you I was a former judge. I took the same oath of office as any judge, any clerk, any elected person that you vote for that gets sworn in. And when he or she gets sworn in and they raise their right hand, they swear to uphold the Constitution of both the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Constitution of the United States. So I'm guided by those type of things. So those are the duties of the Governor's Council. So just one last thing to put it in perspective. For example, when the President of the United States is in office, when there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court, you know that the President nominates somebody to fill that spot, and that nominee goes before the U.S. Senate for advice and consent.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you get that, that person does not get confirmed and sworn in as a judge on the Supreme Court. The state parallel is when the governor nominates somebody, that nominee from the governor goes before the elected Governor's Council, those 8 members.
Oh, wow.
And you need a majority vote of the Governor's Council for that person to take office. So I'm running for that spot. What spot? District 2 on that Governor's Council, that 8-person body that's charged with those responsibilities, among others.
Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned over 36 towns for this district. Do you think you can, how do you think you can effectively represent the people in these towns?
By doing the best job for everybody in the district, and that means the most important thing before a Governor's Council law and the Governor's Council is whatever is before that member on every Wednesday that the Governor's Council meets in Boston. That's how you do it, and to be accessible to those people. And I have a track record of what I just mentioned to you, of being in public service, and in those capacities, I think I've shown people that I'm responsive to members of the public. I served as a judge for almost 18 years. I made thousands and thousands of decisions that were on the record, on the microphone. Every day, there's a microphone in front of you. If you mess up, someone can appeal your decision. If they appeal your decision, that's on the books too. So I have a track record of being responsive in my job as a judge. I have a track record of having been a former selectman, a town moderator, where you have to be fair as a moderator, as you know, when you're before a town meeting, that type of thing. I was appointed, again, most recently by Governor Baker to be the chair of the State Ballot Law Commission. That's public. So I answer my phone calls. I work hard to make sure I'm responsive to members of the public. So whether it's someone from West Bridgewater or the city of Brockton or the city of Framingham or Attleboro or Stoughton or Canton or Natick or Holliston or Medway or wherever on that District 2 map, which is a bit of a crazy map if you look at it.
It's about like almost a cane.
Yeah, and if you look at that map, I will be responsive to those people, and that's how I plan to act. The Governor's Council, by the way, is public. It's just like this. You can tune in from West Bridgewater right here. You could give a class, and you on a Wednesday there's live streaming, and you can see there's a published agenda. You can watch the meeting, and you can see what happens on a Governor's Council meeting. You can go back and check out a hearing. You can see how did the Governor's Council conduct a hearing on the nomination of, attorney so-and-so nominated to be a judge in the whatever court. You can look that up the same way you can look up one of your shows, you can watch that hearing. So people can tune in to see what you're doing, and it's open to the public. The only time it was cut off from the public, it was during COVID, and it was more restrictive that type of way. But it's open to the public, so people can check that out.
Great. I didn't know that was open to the public. What criteria are you looking for when appointing a judicial nominee?
That's a great question. What you need is not only competency, but temperament. So for competency, you have to see, is this person equipped to deal with the type of cases that will come before him or her? The skill set you need to sit on the probate and family court, where people do things like divorces, complaints for separate support, issues of alimony, visitation, child support, restraining orders. That skill set is certainly different from what you need for something at the housing court, something at the land court, the skill set you need for district court or superior court or the appeals court. So you look at their track record and their level of service as a member of the bar and what they have done in their profession and how many years they've done that to see their body of work to do that. Then they have to have the temperament to be a public servant. So not only you have to look to see, is there something in their background that shows that they have been involved in their community? Doesn't have to be in the court system, but involved in their community, where they have given of their time and show they have the capacity to conduct themselves as a public servant. And then you have to see if they understand these two things, because they have to take an oath to support this. And there are some people that sort of forget what's here. You don't make the law here, not because I say so, because they say so. We have 3 branches of government: legislative branch, executive branch, judicial branch. 3 branches. The judicial branch is not a political branch, because they say so. These documents say so. If you want to change the law, you run for the state legislature, you run for rep, you run for state senate. There are people that sit in some of these positions that think they're supposed to make the law. The law is supposed to apply to everything. We have some challenging times today. Our institutions are under attack. One of the reasons they're under attack is one of our most important institutions is the rule of law that we agree as citizens to abide by and go by the consent of the governed, that we agree to abide by the law in the land. The law is here, but it's not supposed to be a position where when you're a judge, you say, well, the law applies to you, but it doesn't apply to you. And the judge doesn't decide that. You can't be a judge and say, I know what's better for you than you do. The law is going to apply to you, but not you, or it doesn't apply to you. It's supposed to be an independent, non-political branch. And the problem is today, too many people forget this thing. This thing says once you're in that branch, you don't have the same opinions, the right to those opinions outside. You cannot attend political functions when you're a judge or a clerk. You can't donate to political candidates. You're supposed to be independent. Doesn't matter what you did before you took this job. But once you take this job and you raise your hand to support the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Mass and the United States Constitution, you give that up. And too many times people forget that. They almost hybrid type of judges. Law is going to apply to that group, but not to that group. And when that happens, people lose confidence in that judicial branch. They think it's just the same as the other branches of government. It's just another political thing, and they lose respect for that. And when that happens, they take law into their own hands, and we all suffer from it. And the people we have in law enforcement suffer because of it. The people that have the guts to come forward, to testify against people where they witness a crime, we suffer when those voices are silent because they're afraid. We have to support all our systems, including the third independent branch of government, the judicial branch. To answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you. But are there any criteria you would have for opposing a judicial nominee?
Sure, if they're not ready for the job.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not ready for the job. They might be nice people and all that, but they have to have a body of work that suggests that they have the intellect and the competency in that subject area, and they've shown that, and they have the temperament for the job, for sure.
And what are you hearing on the campaign trail about what matters most to the people?
A lot of what I just said. So without being redundant, people are questioning that the judicial branch is becoming, in their opinion, too politicized. And that is a concern for them. In addition to the things, what happens, for example, with the migrant situation in the country. That's affecting everybody. Everybody in the country is an immigrant. It's just a question what generation that founding members in your family came over. And people support immigration, and they support the right of people to have a better life for their family. But they also want people to be vetted, just like people have in the past. And they don't want the whole system blown up to do that. They believe in having legal immigration and vetting people because there are consequences to that. And we're seeing that in the state. That's a concern on people's mind. Their pocketbook, inflation, what is driving up the cost of goods and services, energy cost, and all the pass-on that you saw after COVID, and what is happening in the marketplace. So people know what is happening with them. Their wages haven't kept up with that. You hear that from people. But when it comes to this branch of government, a lot of people are concerned about what is happening with law enforcement, what's happening with the rule of law, and they're getting mixed messages about support for the people in the law enforcement community, and we need to protect the people that we put in charge of protecting us. And that's a concern I hear every day from people, whether I'm in West Bridgewater or Framingham or Attleboro or Medway.
That's great. If elected, are there any particular issues you want to bring to the Governor's Council?
The only issue is having the best men and women appointed to do the jobs that come before the Governor's Council.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest goal. I'm not running for Governor's Council to run for an office where I make new law. I'm running to get the people that are charged with those important positions. And if you understand what the role of a judge is, for example, in a jury trial, the judge is the arbiter of the law. The jury decides the facts. Okay. In all those areas, in the clerks, for example, a clerk magistrate runs the courthouse. That's an important job for whoever is charged with that. Enormous responsibility there. Because when you go to a courthouse, it's not just a judge in the courtroom. You got security people assisting you through the door, court officers in the session. You have probation officers. You have people that work for the clerk magistrate. You have the office of the elected district attorney. You have the defense bar. You have the public. You have the police officers and the prosecutors, and you have judicial staff. And then most times you're in a building that is leased from a county, and you have to make that whole building work and be safe. You certainly can't have restrooms where the alleged perpetrator of a crime is going to be in the same facility at the same time that the victim of the crime is in. There's a lot of things you have to consider. That's what a clerk magistrate does, in addition to scheduling the personnel to handle the hundreds and thousands of matters there. So those people are important. That's the job, is getting the best people that can do that work. It's not to say, I want to change this law, this law, or this law. If I wanted to do that, I'd run for the legislature, because that's who makes the law. This job is guided by this document to be the consent and advice and consent body for the elected governor. It's not to be somebody who wants to change A, B, C, D, and E. There are plenty of people that want to do that. They're on the ballot. People have the choice to vote for them, in, out, whoever.
You mentioned the jury. You mentioned the courts. I was actually in jury duty just last week, and I saw how everything works.
Wow, great,
Yeah.
great.
But what is your views on the current Judiciary Committee?
Which committee?
Well, actually, excuse me. What is your current form? I meant to say. What is your view on the current Governor's Council?
They're a rubber stamp for the governor.
Uh-huh.
They don't conduct hearings that vet the candidates before the governor's council. They don't give the public hearing. Once that person gets that job, they're on that job for life. There's one time you have a hearing. If you're the one nominated by a governor, you may have applied in an application, and someone may have screened your application, and you may have gone to an interview with the Judicial Nominating Committee. All those things are done in a confidential format. It's not open to the public. When the governor would nominate you to be a judge, you go before the governor's council. That's the one time the public has a chance to ask a question. And like you say, if they contact their governor's counselor, they want the governor's counselor to ask the question for them, to hear what the candidate's views are. That's what's important. There are only 8 people. I am running for District 2. There's no occupant right now in District 2.
Wow.
There's a vacancy. So I'm not running against an incumbent. So there are 7 of the 8 that meet on Wednesdays as they schedule those meetings throughout the year. And those meetings have hearings that are publicized. So I would challenge you to go look it up on mass.gov, Governor's Council, live streaming. Check out a meeting, and you'll see that there's not too much of a hearing often. And so what I think I would bring to the council is to ask the questions that allow the public to see what a candidate's views are on certain things. That's what's needed, in my opinion, at the Governor's Council.
And you mentioned that this is your other candidates, your other opponents. But what makes you, what do you think are the qualities that you have that are better suited than your other candidates?
Well,
other opponents,
I didn't mention my opponents, but since you bring it up, I think I'm the most qualified candidate because I've been a judge. I was a judge for 17 and a half years. I've been before. I got confirmed. I've gone to the Governor's Council for other people in support of their case. I've been in that game before. I know what it's like. I know the difference between, I was a presiding judge at the Stoughton District Court. I wasn't just one of the judges, I was the presiding judge. I was an acting first justice at the Fall River District Court. I served on the appellate division for the district court where you handle appeals on civil matters at the district court. Not the appeals court, the appellate division of the district court. I've served in all those capacities. I served in several different communities. In this area, before I became the first justice at the Stoughton District Court, I served at the Brockton District Court, the Attleboro District Court, the Rentham District Court, the Dedham District Court, Fall River District Court, New Bedford District Court, the Hingham District Court, Plymouth District Court, Quincy District Court. I did a stint in Boston at Dorchester District Court, West Roxbury District Court, Roxbury District Court. Like several of my colleagues, like I said, it was 17 and a half years. I've done the job. So all I'm saying is, I know what it takes to be a good judge. I know what it takes to be a good clerk. With all due respect, none of my worthy opponents have had that type of experience. That's what I think makes a difference. The fact I've been a judge, I've been in the system, I know what it takes. I'm a practicing lawyer. I've done that for 41 years on top of that. So I think I have the right to say I have a unique vantage point on being able to evaluate the type of people that would be successful as appointed judges and clerks in that system.
Yeah, I agree. Is there just a couple more questions, but if anyone wants to learn more about your campaign, or where can they go to learn more?
We have a website. Go to www.electcrimmins, CRIMMINS.com, so electcrimmins.com. We have a Facebook page. We have, if you go to the website, there's a link to Facebook. Facebook would take you there. I know that's old school. It's probably not with you.
Oh, no.
Probably in the new stuff. But
I love Facebook. I've been on it since 2006.
But we have those. We have a position. I've done cable shows, like you're being kind enough to give me the opportunity here. I've been speaking all over the district. I have probably done now probably 10 of these cable shows in the district. I plan to go to every one that I can, and people can, they have phone numbers to contact us. They can email us. You know, we're happy to respond to anybody that way. But thank you, yeah.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you here. Are there any closing remarks you would like to make?
Sure. I think this position is very important, and I thank you for the opportunity of being able to answer some of your questions here. The Governor's Council is an important position. It's not the only important position. We're not going to change the whole world on the Governor's Council, but all I'm saying to you is I am running to do a job. I don't need the job. I'm an attorney. I'm not looking to be a judge. Okay, I'm a father. I'm a grandfather of 4, and the world my grandkids are growing up in is a pretty challenging world, and it's a lot different from the world my wife and I brought our 4 kids up in. And one of the big challenges is the change in the rule of law and the attack on our institutions that are very important to us as a society, and what makes us different in the United States than any other country in the world. And I'm running to make sure that that rule of law is supported, and to help the people that defend that rule of law day in and day out. As I mentioned to you, when that Constitution started in 1780, there was no other place in the world that had 3 branches of government. It's what makes us different. It makes us different. And those institutions are under attack. And so all I'm saying, if people want to do something that helps improve their life, that helps the safety of their kids, their right to have freedom of thought without retribution, the right to have safe communities, the right to have their own opinion without being attacked and things like that. It makes a difference who are in these type of positions. And in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Governor's Council performs that important role. In some states, the role of our Governor's Council is handled by their state Senate. when a governor nominates somebody, it's the state Senate that will have a hearing. In our state, it's the Governor's Council. So for all those reasons, people have a choice. I offer myself as a choice in November. People will have a chance to vote for me with my opinion of what the job is, or someone else who may be very earnest but may want to run because they want to change laws or whatever their reason is for running. I just know my reason for running, and it's an important type of thing. We need balance. The Governor's Council right now is a body of 8 persons with 1 vacancy, so there's 7. There are no Republicans on that Governor's Council. It's good to have balance. It's good to have a 2-party system, because when you have that, you have an exchange of ideas, and that's important for the public, and then the public can choose. The public is shying away from parties these days. 63% of the voters in the Commonwealth, this is according to the Secretary of State, not me, 63% of the voters are unenrolled.
Wow.
63%. People today that are registering to vote aren't registering in either party. And this is the most nonpartisan race on the ballot. Governor's Council is the most nonpartisan race. It's not a political spot that you're in, because we're talking about the judicial branch of government. So I offer myself as a candidate. I would appreciate your audience out there. I appreciate your vote on November 5 and ask for your vote. And I hope to earn your trust for that vote November 5 in the election for Governor's Council District 2. And thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming down here and talking with us. We wish you the best of luck on your campaign.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
All right,
Thank you.
bye.